Hi everyone, in this video I'll be talking about the lessons I've learned from a digital marketer working in the digital marketing industry for over 8 years. Now I recently read a book written by Molly Pittman. Now Molly Pittman, I first came across this digital marketer when I was listening to the Perpetual Traffic podcast. Now when she announced that she had written a book called Click Happy, Your Guide to a Meaningful Life and Career in the Digital Era, I got really excited. The reason why I decided to actually do a book review and also share the lessons I learned from this book is because she has a very outstanding resume. She has handled over $60 million in terms of profitable ad spend. Now, as someone working in the digital marketing industry in the paid advertising section itself, to handle that kind of amount of budget for your clients and actually generate profits and revenue for them itself is quite impressive. And in the paid advertising industry itself, the thing with us is that we are given targets by our clients. If our clients has a target, for example, to hit 1 million in terms of revenue for a particular month itself, our job is to make sure that we help them to hit their revenue. And this also comes from looking at the overall picture of how they do their marketing strategy, assisting them in certain things that we can see from our end, and essentially being like business consultants, not just people that just run ads on social media or Google for them. Now, I also felt that Molly Pittman was a very credible person to follow because she has hosted the Perpetual Traffic podcast itself. Now, this podcast is pretty much a very popular podcast among those that work in the digital marketing industry because this podcast has over 5 million downloads. And this podcast is very, very detailed. They tell you about the tips, tricks, and also insights and developments when it comes to different updates and also different announcements within the digital marketing industry world itself. Now, in this video itself, I'll be sharing with you many lessons I've learned from a book. And I found her book actually geared towards two type of consumers. The first would be people in the digital marketing industry that are just starting out their career, newbies basically. So I find it very refreshing whenever someone who has like over 8 years of experience can actually tell you their framework of how do they create effective ads and also how do they scale their ads to then make sure that they hit their client's target. And basically Molly Pittman, I find a sort of kinship to her because she was also formerly in another industry. She was formerly working in the food and beverage industry before she decided to make a transition over to the digital marketing industry. So one of the first lessons I've learned from her book itself is that to 10x your revenue, you have to realize that your customer is going through a customer value journey. Now, what do I mean by customer value journey? Most of the time when people run ads itself, we like to think about customers as people with credit cards at the end of a laptop or a mobile phone. We forgot that these potential customers are people that need convincing and also they need a process to walk them through different steps of the customer journey itself before they become a loyal customer that will buy your products over and over again. Now, this process can be similar to what we think of dating and marriage. Now, when we think of customers as, somebody that's willing to give you your credit card immediately after they've seen your ad, that is something like the process of getting married to somebody, right? But before you get married to somebody, usually you have to date them a couple of times before you get them to marry you. So this process is similar to the customer value journey itself. Before you get your prospect customer to be somebody who is in love with your brand, that will spend crazy amounts of money on your brand and buy your products or services, you have to take them to a journey itself, to this customer value journey. Now, there are 8 steps in this customer value journey, and the first step begins with awareness. How do these people become aware that your brand exists? Do they see your ad? Do they see you in search results on Google? Or do they hear about you from word of mouth? So this is typically when brands actually run brand awareness campaigns is because they want to get their awareness about their brand out to the consumers itself. Now, if you can see, sometimes some companies actually run brand awareness campaigns and essentially their target actually is to get as many people in a specific location to be aware about their brand. For example, a skincare company would target women for from the age of maybe 21 over to 55. You run brand awareness campaign enough so that people can be familiar, that they keep on seeing this brand appear on social media. So they have some sort of awareness that this brand actually exists. And when they see this brand long enough, maybe whenever they go to a store itself, they then probably are more likely and willing to try this particular brand. Now, the second step of the customer value journey is engagement. So what does engagement mean? Engagement happens when you produce content through your social channels, for example, like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, and then you create follow-up marketing, for example, like email newsletter. And for example, let's say you create a blog post and you post it on your website. Somebody reads that blog post, or they watch a video, or they subscribe to your mailing list. Then after a while, what they're doing is that they're beginning to engage with your brand. The third step of a customer value journey is subscription. So this is when you have the ability to follow up with your customer. The reason why companies want to get people to actually subscribe to their newsletter when they go on their landing page is this. This is the start of how you build a relationship. When you get your customers, when you get your prospect to actually leave you their name, email, and phone number, actually what you're getting them to do is you're getting them details so that you can keep in touch with them. This is when your prospect customer allows you to follow up with them. So when companies actually have a portion in their website itself that says that, oh, subscribe to our newsletter, what essentially they are doing is this. They're getting their prospect to actually give them permission to start that relationship with them, where then these brands can give newsletters talking about offers, talking about information about their product to educate their customers, so that develops their relationship as well. Now, this is important is because whenever we think about building a relationship with our customer itself, we have to think about sometimes we may have to educate them about our product, about the ingredients in our product. For example, let's say you are running a skincare company. You have to teach them and give them information for them to realize that you are not just trying to sell them a product, but you're trying to educate them and give them something of value to your audience. Now we move on to stage 4 of the customer value journey. Stage 4 is conversion. Now, in this particular step itself, we're not looking for a massive purchase. We're just looking for a micro commitment. So this is when a prospect buys something from your company or they make a significant time commitment. For example, let's say they buy a small product or service, or they sign up for a demo or webinar. Now, depending on your business itself, for example, if you run a e-commerce company selling skincare products itself, maybe this is when your prospect actually buys a product from you. Now, if you run, for example, maybe a seminar industry, a seminar company, this is when they make a significant time commitment to actually attend like a demo or a webinar. And this is important step because human beings actually show their commitment through their wallets and they show their commitment through their time. So whenever they give you their resources, which is either time or money, this indicates that these people are willing to do business with you. And then this is also when you will start to realize that once you have captured their details and then they made that commitment to you, now it's your job to think about how can you get them to increase their purchases or increase the value of their transaction that they are transacting with you as well. Now we move on to the stage 5, which is excitement stage. Now this means is that if your customer had a good first interaction itself, this is the time where you want them to have a second good interaction with you. So this is the part where we as marketers help companies ensure that, when every customer has a good experience with you itself, how they can go one step further. So this is about saying that from you acquiring a new user itself, a new customer itself, how can you slowly begin to convert them to end up buying more and more products with you, make them your loyal customers as well? Because we all know it's expensive to acquire new customers, but if you are able to build a good relationship with your customers, get them to buy your brand. Over a period of time, when they become long-term customers itself, it gets easier to when it comes to running ads, to also trigger more purchases from these long-time customers itself. Now, the stage 6 of this customer value journey is actually ascension. And this means that at this point of this stage is that companies have efforts to upsell, cross-sell, and also make recurring subscription happen. Now, this is the process where you get your customer to do more things with your company itself. Now, if they have bought something itself, you want them to be excited enough so the next time they want to replenish the product. For example, let's say they bought like deodorant or they bought skincare products from you. You want them to buy your product again when your product is already finished on their end. And so what typically companies do is that they use the data that they have on their end in terms of the customer purchase, and then they figure out what is the average cycle of when the customer actually replenishes the product. For example, let's say you replenish your deodorant every 1 month. So when around the 1 month is up for the customer journey, right? This particular customer gets hit with ads, emails, or perhaps an app push notification saying that, hey, there's a 10% offer on this deodorant, for example. Or maybe, the company then uses email to introduce this person. Let's say they have tried this deodorant, this deodorant from this particular range. Then they actually said, hey, why don't you try this deodorant for another range? So what they're doing is that before the customer actually replenishes the product itself, you're telling this customer, hey, you're reminding this customer that you exist. And you're saying that, you're stimulating the purchase behavior over and over again. Now, the reason why you want to actually do that is because, as we all know, consumers are now being inundated with many ads. And in any industry that you work in, there are many competitors out there. If you don't stimulate the purchase cycle for their customer when their product actually finishes out, what you're leaving this customer is you're leaving other brands to actually take this customer and with their ads and get this customer to try out their products itself, which is why it's important for companies nowadays to actually use data itself to see that how can I retain this customer. When I first acquired a new customer, how can I retain them, get them to keep on buying consistently from me, and after a period of time convert them to long-term customers. So that is stage 6 itself. Stage 1 to 5 is when majority of companies are quite familiar with this particular customer value cycle. But according to Molly Pittman itself, stage 6 to stage 8 is really untapped territory for most businesses. And as somebody that's worked in this industry, I think it's so incredibly fascinating to see that what are the benefits the company actually can give to their customers simply because they understand and have access to data about their customers' buying habits itself. For example, they understand that this particular person, maybe their target audience is a female from 20 over to 55. They buy certain products itself from certain ranges. So they hit this person with an ad to say, why don't you try new products from this range at 10% off, for example. Or they give you ads to actually get you to try and experiment a similar range itself. So what they're doing is that they're using data itself to retrigger the purchase for this particular customer, and that's how they actually get this customer to spend more money with their company over a period of time. Now we move on to stage number 7, which is advocacy. Now this is when the customer says nice things about you to other people. Now the reason why I believe certain brands are incredibly successful is because they have been the long-lasting brands in the industry itself. For example, let's say that their reputation is they have been in this industry for 10 over years. And the reason why they've been in this industry 10 over years is because their products are great, their customer service is great, and also they build up a brand. And also what they've done is they build up a fan base of customers that really love their product. And these customers say nice things about their products to other people. If you think about it this way, if you're so obsessed with perhaps a skincare brand itself, more likely you're willing to share it on your social media platform. You want to tell your friends, your family that how great this product is. Or even when you buy a new skincare product itself, you are so excited to show this product and share your buying experience. And when that happens itself, what companies are benefiting from is the word of mouth effect. For companies to be incredible, successful companies, make tons of money, and also withstand the test of time, they need to build a customer base of loyal customers. And that means is their product has to be great, their services has to be great, and also they have to build their base of customers that are loyal and that will say nice things about them. Now we move on to stage 8, which is active promotion itself. Now this is a very interesting stage where from a loyal customer, you start to create a pool of customers that are so excited about your brand and they want to promote your brand. And what they do is they actually take your brand as part of their identity. For example, now if you think about maybe a skincare company where some people are so proud to be associated with a company. For example, maybe that skincare company itself does not use plastic in their packaging or use eco-friendly packaging. So people who associate themselves as being people who care about the environment, they like to associate that brand with their identities because they say that, hey, these are the products that align with my personal values. And I think usually when that happens, it's not your product, the company itself does not just become a company that sells products in the industry. They actually stand for something. And I think that's when it creates warm, fuzzy feelings in people. And when people feel very positively about your brand itself, they feel a more of a stronger loyalty. And, they also have much more loyalty in the sense that when they consume your product, they get reinforced that your brand actually stands for something, not just, just another product in the market. This particular distinction itself is very important because what it does is that when you think about the customer's value experience through different stages itself, you have different activities to attract, retain, and maintain this group of people for your company. And each messaging itself has to be different. So sometimes when I see across ads in social media itself, sometimes you see ads that is like a copy and paste. They just run the ad to this consumer and they don't take them through this value journey, and as a result, sometimes you see that people are not able to actually have a strategy to actually retain these customers in long term, and therefore they end up spending a ton more money on ads without realizing that when you take your prospect to a customer value journey itself and specifically organize campaigns to actually attract, retain, and also maintain these particular customers, therefore you end up seeing a more then you end up seeing that the financial results actually reflecting that particular step itself. So the main message to actually take away from this particular lesson is this: always think of your customer through the customer value journey and think of how you can create campaigns to attract, retain, and also maintain this pool of customers with your company itself. Now, the second lesson I've learned from Molly Pittman in this book is how do you write effective ad copy. Now, the first rule when it comes to writing ad copy for your ads is to always remember this is not about you, it's about your customer. Now, the general mistake I think people make when they run their ads is that they talk about their features, benefits, and then that's it, without realizing that their competitors also run ads on social media and Google as well. So actually the person that is able to address the customer directly and make it so personable that the customer feels like you're talking to them, you're trying to address their pain, their problems, and you're offering them a solution, that is when the customer actually feels like, oh, you have something of value to give to them. And don't forget, when we are in the business, actually the business is about offering solutions to your customer for the problem that they have. Now, if you're able to articulate how you can best serve your customer compared to your competitors, now this is when your customer is more likely to make a purchase with you, to give you their details in a lead form, and therefore potentially go through that customer value journey itself. So the number one tip that I found from this book was that you should write for your customers and write in a way that you get social proof. Now I've come across this similar advice from Peng Joon himself. Now, Peng Joon is a digital marketer I respect, and also I think he's quite famous in the industry itself. And I noticed that whenever I look at Peng Joon ads itself, his ads actually looks very casual, it looks very personable. The style of writing is actually very personable. And sometimes his ad copy may be quite long, but when I read his ad copy, I actually feel like reading the entire thing because I feel the style of it's being written is very casual. And the photos and the videos that he uses in his ads is also visual around the casual factor as well. Then I realized something important. The reason why you want to write your ad copy in a way that gets you social proof is because when you write your ad copy itself, you want your ad copy to appear seamless in the social media platform, for example, Facebook or Instagram. When people are on Facebook or Instagram, they are not there to see a bunch of ads by companies. And usually when they start to feel like, oh, that post may actually be an ad, so that's when they immediately start to just scroll down or just ignore it. So when you write your ads and you gear your ads towards social proof itself, when you write in a very informal style, more casual style, more relaxed style, people actually feel like it's very comfortable. They don't actually feel that your ad is too pushy, your ad is too salesy. And one of the tactics that I've actually learned from this book itself was when you're writing ad copy itself, you have to be able to highlight the benefits that the person will have inside the ad copy itself. Now, for example, this tactic is called the pain benefit tactic. Now, this tactic actually talks about what pain your audience actually faced before. And when you are addressing your audience pain itself, what you're doing is you're directly talking to them and addressing their pain. And when your audience actually sees that you're addressing their pain point, you're like, oh, this person actually like understands me. They're feeling the issue that I'm facing, and maybe they have something to offer to me. So this example can be showed inside Peng Joon's ad copy, which says this: what would I do if I had to start from scratch with no product, no offer, no website, and was quarantined for an entire month at home? Now, Peng Joon is a guy that has created his wealth from selling online products, online info products. And what he has done is that he has tailor-made this particular ad copy to business owners, entrepreneurs that have been quarantined at home. So what he has done is he has tailor-made this particular opening of the ad copy to be something that speaks directly to his target audience, that does not have any product, does not have an offer, does not have a website, and are quarantined for an entire month at home. So when he creates his ad copy itself, what he's doing is that he's telling his potential audience is that I understand your pain point. Now I have a solution for your pain point. Just scroll down to my ad copy or click on my ad. Another tactic I've learned for effective copywriting is the feel tactic. Now, the feel tactic means is that you're changing the focus to something that the audience feel is undesirable, that they can trade for something that they really want. For example, let's say now he's targeting entrepreneurs and business owners. So he's saying in his ad copy, feeling the pressure to pull out more social content every single day, but not seeing enough ROI for the effort, and secretly on the verge of a marketing meltdown because of it. Now, if you notice in this ad copy itself, he is actually addressing what the audience feels. And business owners and entrepreneurs, when they see this ad copy, they are like, oh, wait a second, this guy actually knows the problem I'm facing. I'm facing a lot of stress because a lot of people tell me I should be creating social content every single day. But when I create those content, I'm not seeing enough return on investment for my effort, and I almost feel like giving up. So when Peng Joon actually addresses that issue that this audience faces itself, what he's saying to them is, I understand your problem, I know how stressed you feel. Now let me give you a solution of how to alleviate your problem and the stress you feel about your problem. Now, a second example to this tactic is this particular advertisement over here. There are two things he does pretty well. The first is in his ad copy itself, the thing you dread doing and always put off doing because you don't understand it and never see any results. What he's actually doing here is he's addressing the audience again and saying that I understand you have a problem. You dread creating social media content because you don't really understand what are the process of you to actually create the content and how can you begin to see the results. So again, what he's telling people is that I understand you have a problem. Here is the solution that I'm about to offer to you. Number one. Number two effect of what he's done great in this ad itself is he has put a picture of him and Gary Vaynerchuk. Now, Gary Vaynerchuk is a very famous person in the digital marketing industry because he is a digital marketing agency owner, and Gary V has a huge social media following on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, podcasts. Now, Peng Joon could be targeting business owners and entrepreneurs that are already following Gary Vaynerchuk. So when he includes Gary Vaynerchuk's photo in his ad itself, Gary V's followers and fans, when they see the ad, they'll be like, oh, okay, this sounds like a person I follow. Maybe this person is able to offer me a solution. So this is also one tactic of how people end up using images images that are very casual, informal, and also it doesn't seem like an ad actually. It actually seems a very casual photo that you see on Facebook about someone sharing their experience with another famous person. Now, the whole overarching concept of this, how to write effective ad copy is this. The more personal you can be with your ad copy itself is how you create social proof. And social proof means that a lot more people are going to respond to your ad. They'll start to share your ad, they'll like your ad, they'll comment on your ad, and they will also tag their friends that they feel like this ad is relevant to them as well. And this is why this is why it's so important to actually create an ad that is personable, is because the more these people are going to share your ad itself, the higher your relevance scores appears within the platform. Facebook and Instagram and Google and all these platforms, what they want to do is they want to create a great experience for the users on the platforms itself, because these platforms make their money on advertising. So the more time duration that they get people to be on the social media apps itself, the more opportunities they have to actually for advertisers to actually want to advertise on their platform, and the more money that these platforms actually make. So it's important for them to provide a good experience. So as a result, whenever you write your ad copy to be something that is casual and you write it for social proof, the more times your ad will be shown to a greater amount of people, the more beneficial it is for you, the more lower your cost per acquisition, lower. Now, based on the two tactics I've talked to you about writing ad copy itself, these tactics actually illustrate why it's so important to be more personal as you can be on your ad copy when you're writing your ad copy. Now, another point, when some people actually ask how many ad copies they should be running for their ads, based on this book, Molly Pittman said that you should write like 3 versions of ad copies for each segment. And that's the reason why is because digital marketing itself it's basically you're marketing to your audience. And because you're able to track the metrics of how effective your ad is, so you're actually able to experiment with a lot of things. Now, experimentation also means is that you should be writing a minimum of 3 versions of ad copies for each particular segment. So when you write the ad copy to these different segments, what you're testing which ad copy works for particular segments. And the only way you get to know whether the ad copy works or not is by you creating variations. Now, the digital marketing industry is fascinating because in the past, whenever you run an ad, right? Whether you run an ad on TV or in magazine, the ads were very expensive, and you could only try like one ad copy, and you had to cross your fingers, cross your toes, and actually pray that this ad copy will actually generate you sales. Now, that's different in the digital marketing industry. Because the platforms are able to actually track down what is effective and what works, so you can have as many experiments to try different ad copies, also try different images and videos and creatives and things like that for your ad, and then you actually get to see for yourself what works for your customer. In marketing, the important thing to actually remember is that never assume, you test. If you think something is going to work, you run experiments, you test it out, and you see whether this experiment is able to get you a better result when it comes to acquiring a new customer or making this customer actually purchase your product or service.